claim, there is no doubt as to whose baby you are carrying. And she says, yes, I'm pregnant. And then you say, oh boy. Ms. Cole, you admit to sleeping with multiple men, 100% certain that Mr. Gilbert is the father of your unborn child. Is that correct? Can't believe anything she says, especially when it comes to the paternity of her unborn child.
Where we stand on this whole situation is everything that comes out of their mouths is lies.
You did. Was it unprotected sex?
Yes.
He was someone that stuck up for me when I got bullied, and he contacted me and asked me to hang out with him, and I said yes. I went over there, and one thing led to another. Twice in one day.
Twice in one day. Would you be in the baby's life if you knew it was yours? And then you wrote back, yay.
No, yeah.
This story unfolds inside Judge Lauren Lake's courtroom, where emotions rise even before the proceedings officially begin. Families walk in carrying years of secrets, assumptions, regrets, broken trust, and stories shaped by fear. Some are hopping for closure, others are praying that the truth matches their hopes. The courtroom atmosphere feels like a blend of reality, responsibility, and raw human vulnerability. No dramatized scenes, only the genuine weight of real lives intersecting with the law. Judge Lauren Lake sits at the center, calm but firm, the voice of justice when everyone else is fighting their own storms. In this particular session, multiple families have arrived, each with their own conflicts, doubts, and reasons for demanding answers. The courtroom is filled with mothers, fathers, children, and extended relatives whose opinions, assumptions, and personal stories have influenced these cases long before stepping into court. Throughout the day, Judge Lauren Lake hears testimony after testimony, each revealing how complicated the truth can be when emotions, relationships, and legal responsibilities are tangled together. One of the first disputes revolves around a young mother who is convinced she knows the father of her unborn child. Though she admits to her own imperfect past, she stands firm on identifying one man as the true father. Opposite her sits a young man who entered the courtroom anxious, holding onto evidence he believes supports his doubts. His mother is beside him, protective and openly frustrated at what she considers repeated dishonesty from the young woman. Their voices clash not in dramatic shouts, but in emotional declarations filled with frustration, disappointment, and fear of being trapped in a responsibility that may not rightfully belong to them. Judge Lauren Lake listens carefully, sorting through contradictory stories about dates, timelines, and relationships. As the evidence begins to unfold, the courtroom witnesses the emotional toll that uncertainty can have. The mother insists another possible father cannot be considered because he supposedly underwent a vasectomy, yet she cannot provide concrete medical proof. The young man's mother, skeptical and determined to protect her son, argues that vague statements are not enough to claim paternity. She adds her own recollections of conversations, social media messages, and encounters at public places where emotions escalated between the families. Throughout this testimony, Judge Lauren Lake repeatedly emphasizes the importance of truth and clarity. Without verified evidence, assumptions cannot stand as facts. This aligns perfectly with foundational legal principles like adverse inference in Evidence Act, where the absence of proper documentation can weigh heavily against a party. Inside this courtroom, evidence matters, not opinions, not assumptions, not emotional reactions. The mother's family appears emotional, affected deeply by memories of their own childhood experiences with absent fathers. Judge Lauren Lake recognizes their pain but keeps the proceedings grounded. She acknowledges their history while reminding everyone that sympathy cannot replace factual truth. The truth must come from DNA, not from hope or fear. Parallel to this case is a reflection on how people often discuss their DNA test experiences on podcasts like Truth Changes Everything, the Divorce Course podcast, and the Game-Changing Attorney podcast, where professionals analyze how evidence impacts the stage in a divorce case, child support rulings, and family law. Inside the courtroom today, these themes echo loudly. The DNA test is not just a scientific tool. It is a turning point, a source of clarity, and sometimes a source of regret. Judge Lauren Lake moves to another case involving a mother who has been raising her daughter alone for 2 years, struggling financially and emotionally. She describes her hardships openly, raising multiple children, caring for her disabled mother, and working tirelessly to support her family. Her voice cracks under the emotional weight of being ignored by the alleged father, who is present in court yet distant in demeanor. He argues that he does not believe he is the father due to timeline contradictions, and because he had found entries in a diary that made him suspicious of her fidelity. Judge Lauren Lake guides both parties through their statements, reminding them that personal interpretations of diaries, calendars, and memories cannot override the certainty of DNA evidence. She listens as the man recounts conversations about pregnancy timelines, ultrasound dates, and emotional conflicts that occurred before and after the child's birth. He brings up moments where he felt manipulated, misled, or used, while the mother tearfully defends herself, asserting she never lied and always told him the truth about conception dates. This case highlights how the concept of justice in jurisprudence emphasizes fairness, not only legal fairness but moral fairness. Judge Lauren Lake strives to maintain this balance by ensuring that every voice is heard without bias. She recognizes the mother's struggles while also acknowledging the man's right to clarity before assuming lifelong responsibility. The courtroom functions as a bridge between emotional truth and legal truth. Next is another case involving a child with serious medical needs. A mother appears with her young son who suffers from multiple health conditions requiring major surgery. Her primary concern is securing accurate family medical history to protect her child's future. The alleged father has been absent for years and claims he is not responsible because he believes she may have been involved with his brother. His mother testifies that she once saw the woman in a compromising position with another man and later saw her arrive at the house with the baby, creating more doubts. The mother denies all allegations, stating firmly that the man before her is the first and only man she was ever intimate with. The emotional weight in the room grows as she explains how much her son needs medical clarity, not family drama. Judge Lauren Lake centers the conversation on the child's well-being, describing how legal responsibility and biological truth often intersect during critical family decisions such as medical treatment, child support, and adoption-related concerns. Throughout these proceedings, the courtroom environment closely mirrors real-life discussions often shared in Celebrate Recovery testimonies, where individuals talk about pain, resilience, mistakes, forgiveness, and healing. These families are not perfect. They are human beings wrestling with confusion, hurt, and fear of what the truth might reveal. Judge Lauren Lake repeatedly highlights that while emotions are valid, accountability must come from verified facts. She explains how family law, child support, and custody decisions often reach the Supreme Court level when evidence is contested or when judicial interpretation of laws becomes necessary. Inside her courtroom, though the stakes are personal rather than national, the principles remain the same. Evidence rules. As each case progresses, DNA tests arrive as the final measure of truth. Some individuals hope desperately for a particular outcome, while others silently pray the results free them from responsibility. Some regret taking the test because fear of the unknown feels safer than facing the truth. Others believe DNA will finally give them the justice they were denied for years. Judge Lauren Lake, with her calm authority, opens each envelope with equal respect for all involved. The room holds its breath as generational scars, broken relationships, and lifelong questions are answered in seconds. Some results bring relief, some bring heartbreak, some bring closure, others bring new challenges. Each time, Judge Lauren Lake reminds everyone in the courtroom that truth, even when painful, is the foundation for moving forward. Truth shapes responsibility, heals misunderstandings, supports children, and allows families to rebuild. Inside her courtroom, truth is not just an answer, it is the beginning of accountability. The courtroom atmosphere becomes heavier as the next set of families take their places before Judge Lauren Lake. The day has already revealed how the truth can reshape relationships, but now the emotional weight deepens. Each person entering the courtroom carries a different purpose. Some want emotional justice, others want financial clarity, some want recognition, and a few simply want answers to fill the silence of an uncertain past. The courtroom functions almost like a living example of the relationship between law and justice, where legal rules confront deeply human realities. The themes discussed in countless podcasts such as Truth Changes Everything, the Divorce Course podcast, and the Game-Changing Attorney podcast echo across the courtroom. How do we define justice in a family conflict? How do we interpret evidence when memories are inconsistent? How do DNA tests, once feared and sometimes regretted, become the ultimate truth when everything else fails? Today's hearings continue to demonstrate these questions in real time. In another case, a young woman stands before Judge Lauren Lake, torn between her desire for clarity and her fear of what the DNA might reveal. She grew up believing her father was dead only to learn recently that he might still be alive. Her emotions wrestle with confusion, resentment, and longing. She explains that she has spent years wondering about her identity, about her roots, about the stories she was told. Her family enters the courtroom carrying mixed reactions, some supportive, some dismissive, some defensive. Judge Lauren Lake calmly guides the testimony, emphasizing how painful secrets can be passed from one generation to the next. She notes that this is not only a legal matter but an emotional unraveling. The woman expresses how people often regret taking a DNA test, not because the science is flawed, but because the truth can dismantle the life narrative they were raised to believe. This courtroom session becomes an example of how the concept of justice in jurisprudence often requires confronting hidden truths, even when those truths hurt. Another family follows, presenting a situation influenced by betrayal. A woman enters the courtroom claiming she believes her child's father is denying paternity because of his new fiancée. She insists that outside pressures and new relationships have influenced his perception, leading him to doubt the child's paternity. The man disagrees, insisting his doubts are based on timelines and unresolved questions. Their testimonies show how complicated the intersection between human behavior, trust, and legal proof can be. Judge Lauren Lake listens carefully, reminding both sides that personal conflicts, jealousy, and relationship issues cannot overshadow factual evidence. The discussion brings forward examples similar to those shared in interviews on the Game-Changing Attorney podcast, where experts talk about how emotional reasoning is common but unsustainable in legal disputes. Inside the courtroom, evidence rules and DNA becomes the deciding factor, not emotions, not suppositions, and not assumptions tied to new relationships. After this, another mother and her adult daughter appear before Judge Lauren Lake, representing a case involving two possible fathers. The daughter believes one man should be ruled out based on circumstances, while the alleged father insists that the mother's timeline is inconsistent. The courtroom witnesses how generational patterns influence decision-making, with older relatives recalling past cases, childhood traumas, and unresolved family mysteries. Judge Lauren Lake reinforces the core principle of truth, explaining how adverse inference in evidence acts as a reminder that when facts are missing or concealed, the court must evaluate credibility carefully. The mother admits that she slept with more than one man around the same time, but she clings to her belief that only one is truly the father. Her daughter supports her, but expresses her own confusion, hoping that the court's findings will break their family's history of uncertainty regarding parentage. The next case involves a mother demanding justice for child support that was never paid. She explains the years of raising her child alone, working extra jobs, missing sleep, and sacrificing her own needs. She insists that the alleged father intentionally avoided involvement and used every excuse possible to deny responsibility. The man admits he stayed away because he did not believe he was the father. His doubts come from memories of confusion, inconsistent stories, and his belief that he was misled. Judge Lauren Lake acknowledges that financial pressure can push people into desperate decisions, referencing the importance of evidence in divorce cases. She explains how, in child support matters, truth is essential because the system depends on accurate identification. The mother speaks emotionally about her hardships, explaining how she needed the father not only for money, but for guidance, presence, and emotional stability for the child. Her words echo many celebrate recovery testimonies, where individuals reflect on emotional healing, forgiveness, and the need to correct generational wounds. Judge Lauren Lake maintains a firm but compassionate stance. She reminds both parties that emotional pain cannot determine legal truth. DNA is the only tool that can bring certainty. The courtroom watches as the results are read, and legal responsibility is reassigned in real time. Whether the father is revealed or ruled out, the courtroom becomes a place where life-altering responsibilities are confirmed or lifted. Then, another case unfolds involving adoption concerns. A woman has raised a child believing one man could be the biological father, only to discover later that there might be another possibility. She appears in court not only for truth, but for closure before considering adoption plans. Judge Lauren Lake discusses how accuracy in paternity is essential for long-term decisions like adoption, custody, and future medical records. She emphasizes how the law must protect a child's identity first and foremost, even when adults feel uncomfortable. As testimonies continue, Judge Lauren Lake draws parallels to Supreme Court rulings where children's rights and welfare take precedence over adult disagreements. She explains how genetic certainty is crucial in legal cases involving custody, support, inheritance, and adoption. Each case contributes to the broader theme of how the relationship between law and justice plays out differently depending on personal circumstances. Throughout the day, the courtroom remains tightly focused on the importance of DNA testing as evidence. People often regret taking a DNA test not because the science is wrong, but because the outcome reveals truths they are unprepared for. Others seek DNA testing eagerly because they want closure or support. Still others request it reluctantly, hoping it will eliminate responsibility. All these reasons converge under Judge Lauren Lake's guidance, creating an atmosphere of truth-seeking anchored in legal principles. Each family's pain becomes a reminder of how fragile relationships can be when communication fails. Many testimonies reveal how broken trust, suspected cheating, emotional distance, and financial struggles have shaped decisions long before the court date. These cases mirror countless cheating stories, paternity investigations, relationship breakdowns, and testimonies shared online where people admit they acted out of fear rather than truth. In every test result, there is a mixture of emotional reactions: relief, shock, tears, gratitude, disappointment. Some families embrace the answers immediately. Others struggle to accept them. Judge Lauren Lake provides calm guidance, reminding everyone that truth, even when difficult, is the only foundation upon which a healthier future can be built. She reassures parents that knowing the truth is better than living in uncertainty, especially when children's lives and futures are involved. The weight of the day does not weaken Judge Lauren Lake. Instead, she uses each moment to highlight how the legal system, DNA evidence, and human emotion must align for justice to be served. She acknowledges that the law cannot solve emotional pain, but it can clarify responsibility. She emphasizes that the relationship between law and justice is complex, but inside her courtroom, truth is non-negotiable. Many individuals who testify mention how their experiences mirror stories they've heard in full episodes of paternity-related shows or discussions on family law podcasts. They reference how DNA tests have helped others, how people regret taking them, how families healed or broke after receiving results. Judge Lauren Lake listens to these reflections, recognizing that society is slowly embracing the idea that truth, no matter how painful, is the cornerstone of justice. By the time this segment of the courtroom proceedings concludes, many lives have changed dramatically. Some individuals walk away with newfound responsibility. Others walk away free from obligations they feared for years. Some families embrace each other with relief. Others leave quietly, processing the revelation that their assumptions were wrong. But through all of it, Judge Lauren Lake reinforces one simple but powerful message: truth may hurt, but it never destroys justice. Truth builds the path forward. Truth ends confusion. Truth protects children. Truth redefines relationships. Truth transforms lives. And inside this courtroom, truth is never optional. As the final portion of the courtroom proceedings unfolds, the weight of accumulated testimony saturates the atmosphere. Judge Lauren Lake remains composed, steady, and attentive. The families entering now have watched many cases before theirs, and the emotional intensity has only grown stronger. Each new set of people arrives carrying personal histories marked by uncertainty, assumptions, generational trauma, and unanswered questions. This last portion of the day becomes a reflection on how truth rearranges lives in real time. One of the final cases involves a woman who appears fragile yet determined. She has spent years believing one story about her child's conception, only to be confronted by relatives who insist there is another possibility. Her voice trembles, not from fear of judgment, but from exhaustion, the exhaustion of living under constant suspicion. She insists she never intended to deceive anyone. She simply wanted stability for her child. She explains that the conflict around her has created a kind of emotional chaos, similar to stories discussed on Truth Changes Everything podcast, where individuals describe how unexpected DNA results completely reshape their understanding of family. Judge Lauren Lake listens with empathy but maintains her legal clarity. She reminds the courtroom that belief alone cannot resolve questions of paternity. Evidence must guide decisions, not assumptions or pressure from family members. The woman explains how difficult it has been to endure criticism, especially from relatives who accuse her of dishonesty. Her plea for understanding becomes a reminder of how often people regret taking a DNA test, not because they lied, but because they fear losing the support of those closest to them if the results contradict expectations. Another case follows involving a father who has spent years emotionally disconnected from a child he may have fathered. His hesitation, he explains, is rooted in years of mistrust, moments when timelines changed, when stories didn't align, when emotions clouded facts. These conflicts reflect themes frequently discussed in legal analysis programs like the Game Changing Attorney podcast, where professionals explore how credibility, honesty, and evidence determine the outcome of family law disputes. The mother in this case breaks down as she describes the difficulty of raising a child without answers. She admits that she made mistakes, that she wasn't perfect, and that her relationship was complicated. But she insists she never intended to mislead anyone. Judge Lauren Lake acknowledges the pain in the mother's voice, but emphasizes that clarity must come from DNA, not memory. She explains how the Adverse Inference in Evidence Act reinforces the importance of providing accurate and complete evidence when making claims that affect a child's future. This case also touches on the theme of cheating stories, the type that families struggle to recover from, the type that lead to doubt even years afterward, the type that leave lingering resentment and questions. The courtroom witnesses how one mistake can create emotional waves that last years. But Judge Lauren Lake insists that despite past relationship failures, accountability in the present remains essential. As the day nears its end, the courtroom welcomes one final family dealing with multi-layered generational pain. A mother stands with her adult daughter, both united yet burdened by the unresolved question of biological identity. The daughter has endured years of uncertainty and longing, while the mother bears the guilt of never providing answers. They describe how their story resembles many adoption stories, where children grow up with missing pieces of themselves, unsure of their biological